I live in a part of the United States that we call flyover country. However, the part of flyover country that I live in is also cool. And because it's cool, we have a claim to something as part of the American story. And it's where I'm from, and it's part of who I am. I didn't want that. I wanted to leave where I am and not live in flyover country, Chicago, and the Chicago region. I felt like I don't belong here. This isn't for me. Where then? New York, DC, San Francisco, LA, no way. Not going to happen. San Francisco, uh, don't have the technology chops. New York, not fast enough. Spent a lot of time in New York, a lot of time in San Francisco, and with a lot of people from San Francisco and a lot of people from New York in business over many years. Uh, and I can fit in, sort of. LA, I've never even been to LA. And I feel more of a heart connection to LA than anywhere else in the United States now. The city I ended up in that I picked was DC, the town, the town. That's what I picked. And I didn't want that. When I hit French soil, I knew I want to be French. I don't remember her name. She did not look like Juliette Binoche, but I thought I was Ethan Hawke on that long train down to the south of Grenoble to Les Deux Alpes. And that was after being in DC for a year. I did not grow up with this stuff. It's not part of my culture or acculturation. It is a story from my story that I created through having adventures, original adventures in places I wanted to be in because I saw it and I said, I'm going over there. I don't want to be over here, Chicago. And then I end up back in Chicago working for my parents, the place I was trying to escape from. How is that possible? How is that just? How could that happen to me? Don't I have what it takes? Didn't I prove myself enough? No one handed me any of this. No one. Didn't I go through enough pain to get to be part of DC, New York, San Francisco, LA, or France? The international life. That's what I decided. I want an international life. I feel like Jimmy Stewart from It's a Wonderful Life. Every time it almost happened, something went wrong, and I ended up right back here. Always in a different neighborhood because I think I've lived in all of them. And I have certainly walked all of them, selling business insurance door to door. When you sell business insurance door to door in your 40s in the city of Chicago, and you go to every neighborhood in the entire city, you get to know the place. My sense of direction is not good, so I cannot reconstruct everywhere I went, but I went everywhere. And that's how I lived when I lived in Paris. I went everywhere. Do not make me your tour guide, though. You will regret it. That happened. She was also very attractive. And then she wondered, or I think her mother wondered, was that fun? That tour of Paris? through all of the strange neighborhoods that no tourist ever goes to, and they said, "That was a lot of fun. I don't know what the hell just happened, but we had a really good time with you. See you later." That's a true story as well. The fact that I was invited to live on the Avenue de la Bosquet after I should have come back to the United States and gone back to school with a bunch of models and not know how to do that right is just a hilarious part of the story. And I had nowhere to live, and, I worked my network, and, I had a hell of a network, and, this one woman said, "My dad bought me a place," where? Well, it's in the 6th on the right bank. I think it's the 6th. I can never remember the details of these things, but it's on Avenue de la Bosquet, and, "I got an extra room if you wanna rent it out." "How much?" She told me, and I was like, "I'm out." I don't have that kind of money. I think it was 300 bucks a month. That was my entire budget. And she said, "Doesn't matter. He'll pay." So I moved in. And a week later, she's like, "I think I need you to leave." And her model friend moved in. There's a lot of stories. Know your story. How to find your storyline. Freedom comes from story, from knowing your story. I didn't know my story. Why? Because I didn't want it. I wanted a different one. Like, no, it's not the past I want. Now I love my past. I fell in love with my past. That's how you fall in love with yourself. Fall in love with your past. You'll fall in love with yourself. I wasn't ashamed of my past. I just wanted a different one. I wanted to be social media famous so I wouldn't have to work anymore. That was the beginning of the project in 2020. How do I build a signature offer too good to ignore, oversubscribe it, and create a scalable group coaching model based on my own signature event to become financially independent of the vagaries of change in the economy? That's what I wanted, and I went after it. Where does the story begin? At the beginning. And I thought, where does my story begin? I ran away from home when I was 7. That's the opening line. It's not "Call me Ishmael." It's not, I am a I can never remember the data. I am an unattractive man. I am a wicked man. My liver hurts. Dostoevsky, Notes from Underground. You have to look it up because I can't remember. My favorite opening to a work of literature ever, ever. I'm an unattractive man. I'm a wicked man. Dostoevsky was a hilarious comedian. Hilarious. He was the George Carlin of Russia. I'm not kidding. St. Petersburg was a dry place filled with unhappy people that were being crushed by being in Russia. And they crushed Dostoevsky and they put him in a labor camp. It still exists, I think. Those places are real. And what came out of it? I'm an unattractive man. I'm a wicked man. My liver hurts. And a beautiful story. Apropos of the wet snow at the end. Doesn't get the girl, but I'm liberated, he said, and I have a real life. That's what he taught Russia. Some saw it, some didn't like it. Some very powerful people did not like that. It is appropriate to our society today from my perspective, what Dostoevsky knew. It's time to know your story. I ran away from home when I was 7, and my mother said, "Larry, where are you going?" My answer was, "Anywhere but here." Was I 5 or 7? Neither one of us can remember. We've discussed this. I say 7. 7 feels right. Is it right? I don't know. Does it matter? No, doesn't, because it's my story. It's not even her story. It's my story. She's giving me some data to help me remember my story. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. You might want to bring a coat, she said. And I said, "Oh, okay." I don't remember if I put it on over my pajamas or in the old suitcase I found in the closet. That I don't remember. I think I put it in the suitcase. So maybe that makes me 5. Hard to say. 2 hours later, I returned. This is the beginning of my story. What happened? I don't know. Nobody does. She doesn't. Was there a neighbor who saw it? Probably not. Why? Well, it was January and it was snowing a lot. Chicago in January used to snow a lot. And I don't mean like a lot. We used to go up on the roof. We call it roof. I call it roof. Is it a roof or I don't know. That's what I call it. I'm not going to make up another word. That's the word I was taught. Could it be called something else? Depends where you're from. That's part of the point. I jumped off apropos of the wet snow, 2-story roof into the snow. Could I have died? Probably. How old was I? Probably around 7. No, probably old. I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember doing that a lot. How'd I get on the roof? Second store windows. That's how deep the snow used to be. Used to be, not anymore. Used to be in Chicago. 2 hours later, I return. Where'd you go? Doesn't matter. Still mad. Brought my suitcase back. I don't remember if I put my coat on or not. Beginning of my story. Where did it lead? Here. Home. Where's home? That's your question you have to answer. Where is home? I wanted my home to be in France and then everywhere in the world. I got to live like that as a local in a lot of places, but I never got to live like that as my life from the standpoint of a career, which is what I wanted. And I tried all of them. I didn't try 1 or 2 careers. I tried all of them. So I've been functioning like this since I was 7. I'm going over here. Anybody else want to come? No. All right, see you later. Bring a coat. Oh, fine, whatever. What does this make me? When you know your story, you'll know the answer. I can't tell you the answer to your story. You have to tell yourself the answer to your own story. Why am I from Chicago? Why does Chicago matter so much? And I'm thinking about that a lot. Why does Chicago matter so much in the United States of America? Why is Chicago so important? Chicago is so important to understand the United States of America. I was at an economics club meeting. The only reason I ever went to any of these places was to make money. I never would have gone to something like that, except clients could be there or people who could introduce me to clients, because I spent my whole life doing business development and building little entrepreneur kind of structures, bootstrapped, so I wouldn't have to work for other people. Or, as my dad said, never let anybody tell you what to do. And I like that idea a lot, but I wanted a shit ton of money. And the money was the path to freedom. I thought. I believe that. I used to believe that. Now I understand how it really works. I know prosperity. I know the difference between prosperity and wealth. Getting there is your work. That's part of the story. What's your story? Into prosperity. What does prosperity include? Resourcefulness, resources. Where are they? They're inside. Then where do they show up? In the world. Through how? Connection with other people. Which people? The right people. Only. How do you surround yourself with the right people? Start talking about who you are by being that thing. Don't describe it. Be it. What's the pathway to that? That's what we're talking about. Know your story, how to find your storyline. When the story came, life, I'm reading my thing now. When the story came, life opened in ways that surprised, delighted, and astounded me. How many years of remembering? I don't know, 3? Or since I was 7? I would say since I was 7. How many years of accelerated remembering? I would go back to April, May, June, July of 2023, where I accelerated remembering after a beginning opening of remembering, which started on September 20th of 2020 at 5 a.m. when I had my wake up, knock, knock, Neo. This is the first Matrix. It's early in the movie. Mr. Anderson, played by Keanu Reeves, who's working in Goliath Corporation or whatever the hell they called it. It wasn't Goliath. Was it Goliath? It might have been Goliath. No, that might have been a different movie. I don't remember the name of the corporation in the Matrix. It's a perfect name because it's meta. It's got to be something to do with it's making fun of meta in a way. The whole idea of technology, from my perspective, technology people are going to see it differently. I see it as a parody of technology, the Matrix, because it's like Dostoevsky said, there is no answer in technology for humanity's evolution. There isn't. That's what Dostoevsky was trying to explain. He's talking about the Crystal Palace in London, and same thinking as today. AI will get us out of the box. AI. Back to the story. When the story came, life opened in ways that surprised, delighted, and astounded me. I had no idea this was all going to happen. I just knew it was right. September 20th, 5 a.m., 2020. Do it. Wake up. Knock, knock. Wake up, Neo. The Matrix has you. Follow the white rabbit. He worked in a job and in an industry he hated. Good technology company, which is awesome. Way to go, Wachowskis. They're from Chicago. Of course. Chicago's important. There's a reason. I'm seeing it clear and clear every day why Chicago is so important in the United States. And they're screwing it up here. The government. Some of the governments. I love where I live. I don't live in the city anymore. We moved out. We live in an area called Evanston, Skokie. Skevinston. It's not Evanston and it's not Skokie. It's Skevinston. And that's important too. For me, because it's where I'm home. I feel home. It's expensive. It's not like living in Long Island or San Francisco or LA. I don't know how anybody does that. Trust funds, right? Or wealth accumulated, and then the desire to hold on to it so I don't lose my house. There's been a lot of movies about that too. Um, the best is with Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann. He gets a big hit. I think it's Nirvana or something, and then he starts his own record label because he wants to do real music. It's just great. It's like I can't make any money. And Leslie Mann's character is like, where the hell are you? This is my life too. I totally get it. I had to get through that, and he did too. It's hard to have a mature relationship with a mature woman who is beautiful and getting older, same age as me, in my case, who's kind of saying, look, I'm not following and running around after you. I need you to be here because I have a life too. She wants to go out to the clubs. We were talking about that. My wife used to dance a lot at clubs in the city. And I ended up in the same clubs, and I looked around. I probably saw her same time. And I'm like, I hate this place. Let's go to a bar. And then I ended up on Rush Street at like one of these bars with a bunch of criminals because my neighbor was, I danced at nightclubs when I was in my 20s. And I'm an AA at that time still. So I'm an early adopter. So I was in AA from 17 to 24, but I'm not an alcoholic. Lots of stories behind all that stuff. AA is great. I want to put it on my resume on LinkedIn. I'm not kidding. I'm going to do it. Day by Day Club. I was an AA in Georgetown in DC, and I was an AA in Paris. Now, everybody I'm talking about is not, I want to make this clear. I'm not using last names, and I got to be careful because some of these people that I knew. They're public figures. How the hell did I weave into that stuff? I didn't grow up like that. I went. I loved AA. Not an alcoholic. My imposter syndrome in AA was I got to go drink more to come back. And there was a guy from West Virginia. He was a boiler maker, and he didn't work with sheet metal. There was a sheet metal worker who worked on the Deep Tunnel Project in the city of Chicago. Who talked about how stupid the city of Chicago people are every day. Because he saw it. He's working on the project. He's like, they're doing it wrong. It's architected wrong. And he did the work. So he knew what was going on. It was a mess. And he saw it. And they're lying on TV about it. And he's like, they're lying on. He was right because he did the work. He only saw his perspective, of course. That's the elephant thing. But anyways. The process is simple. Start conversations from the vantage point of your own story. Just try it. You will feel afraid. It's fine. Just tell people the truth. Pull down the veil. Do it in private first if that's what you need, but just be careful because you will have advice projected onto you. The opinion projectors are dangerous and they're everywhere. Journey inside and bring out what you find. It's a process. Then keep this going until cracks in the door open. I'm going to read this again. Knowing who you are, why you matter, and what you're here for changes the game for entrepreneurs, coaches, and service providers. How do you be an original in a society of people who are marketing everything? And not knowing how to start a conversation because they have a hidden agenda. Not knowing or having journeyed inside enough, and they don't know their own story. And not bringing out what they find. Keep this going in your market. You'll find your right market. And then cracks in the door will open, and you will never, never, never need to prospect, market, sell ever again. I know this is true. It's a choice. In week 4 on the red pill pathway, our awareness and attention turns inside the story and then outside to the marketplace of your desire. What is the marketplace of my desire? Global impact, global. Hundreds of millions of people around the world. Original entrepreneurs. Coaches who have gifts, don't wanna deliver them. Service providers who are better at what they do. Best product wins. That's my desire. I want the best product to win. I always have since I was 7. That's why I left home. I didn't like the product. That house didn't fit me. Is there something wrong with my parents? No. That little container was too small for me. I wanna go to New York, DC, LA, San Francisco. I tried. I went to DC. I networked like a maniac. My friend ran the White House tour, political appointee. Her dad had hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, hundreds of bill. So she got a plum job. How did I meet her? Networking in DC. I don't know these people. It's not my. She was from Chicago too. Different circles. I got into those circles. Did I try? No, it just happened naturally, organically. And I'm trying to figure out what to do for a living. She's like, "You want to meet Michael Deaver?" Yeah, what the hell? Who's Michael? I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, Michael Deaver. Yeah, I know him from TV. Yeah, Charlie Rose interviewed him. I think I watched Charlie. I stayed up all night watching Charlie Rose in the McLaughlin group. That's what I did in school. I read the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, the Herald Tribune, and then I stayed up all night watching the McLaughlin group and Charlie Rose. People are like, what do you want to do? I want to be a New York Times reporter like Thomas Friedman, and then a bureau chief in Jerusalem. Well, you got to write. Well, I'll just apply and then I'll start writing. Like, it doesn't work like that, you idiot. I learned that. That's why I came back to Chicago. And I'm like, Michael Deaver, huh? Well, okay, you got to get ready for that kind of a meeting. I'm going to introduce you to Michael Deaver, Reagan's chief political consultant. How much time are you going to get? 30 seconds. Hey, here's some dumbass kid from Chicago who's trying to figure out how to make it in DC. That's how I'm going to introduce you. No, I'm making this up. You can't embarrass me. These are important relationships. I learned networking from people who do it for real. And don't screw this up. I said, maybe you better not introduce me. And then I came back. 2 years. Why? This one woman said to me, she was beautiful. She was like in her 30s, and I'm, anyways. And you're gonna move back to Chicago? Why? I'm like, what do you mean? You're gonna go work for your dad, your mom, and your grandmother in Chicago? Are you crazy? You're in DC. She worked for the she was an economist. Where'd you go to school? I think I asked her. Well, Yale. Like, well, that's the problem. Those places won't let me in. It's not going to happen. I'm in the wrong town. That's the point. Chicago is the right town. It's also a town, different kind. And she said, good luck to you. Like, boy, that's rough. You failed. That's part of knowing your story, is knowing when it's time to leave. 2 years. 2 years. And someone else told me, Larry, you're not a Burson person. What the hell's a Burson person? Burson Marsteller is a PR firm of some sort. Back then, it was a big deal. Booz, Burson. And I've been trying to interview in these places, and people are like, you're not a Burson person. What's a Burson person? Think about it. My other alternatives, go to Japan and teach English. I applied. I was rejected. I worked for a group called the Japan America Student Exchange as a intern. I don't remember if they paid me or not. They love not paying interns because they're rich kids' kids, so they don't have to pay them. It's a resume padding system. That's what DC is like. I watched the resume padding close up. I know how it works, folks. So now I'm getting provocative. That's for another time in another channel.